I am Keqing, Yuhun of the Liga Keqing.
What's up guys, it's Goblin, welcome for a new Genshin Impact video. Today we are going to talk about Keqing. She's my favorite character in the game and she's an amazing character. She's the best electro damage dealer in the game, she's the fastest and the best character for exploration thanks to her teleportation. She can be used in many situations because she can be built physical or electro, but I would recommend you to use an electro build because this is the way.
This is the way.
What I mean by that is that the physical build will get weaker the higher you get into your adventure. But if you really want to play her physical, I would recommend 2 Bloodstained Chivalry and 2 Gladiator, because it will increase a lot her physical damage, and also I would recommend Aquila as a weapon, because it's very strong, it's her best weapon. If you don't have Aquila, I will recommend the Battle Pass weapon, which is the Black Sword, or even the Flute, or even Prototype Rancourt if you don't have any better weapon. You also can use a full set of Thunder Shooter, it will increase your overall damage when you are hitting an enemy that is under Electro Aura. It's very strong, but it's most interesting in an electro build. For her artifacts, I would recommend attack percent on her sands, physical damage on her goblet, and critical damage or critical rate. You need at least 50% critical rate to be effective for her crown. For her substats, I would recommend 50% critical rate, and then you will focus on your critical damage, attack percent, and elemental mastery. She doesn't need any energy recharge because her elemental burst will give her 15% elemental recharge and 15% critical rate, so it's an insane elemental burst. As teammates, I would recommend to play a cryo character like Kaya, Diona, or Chi-Chi if you want a healer, because it will trigger an elemental reaction called Superconduit. It will increase your physical damage on enemies. But as I said before, Electro is the best way to build Keqing.
This is the way.
Her constellations will increase her electro damage, so your auto attacks that will be transformed by your skill will also be increased by your constellations. So it's the best way to run her. She has many ways to be built, but I would recommend some builds that are very specific and others that are very versatile. If you want a specific build for multiplayer, I would highly recommend the Thunder Fury set. A full set of Thundering Fury will increase your reaction damage from elemental reaction and also your elemental damage for electrical damage. It will also reduce your cooldown, but if you are playing on solo content, it's not that great, so I would not recommend this set for solo content. If you are playing Abyss, I would recommend 2 pieces of Noblesse Oblige and 2 Thundering Fury, because it will increase your elemental burst, and most of the time in Abyss you will switch between your characters, so it's more interesting to build your character around your skills more than your auto attacks. The next one is the most versatile build. I recommend to use 2 Thundering Fury and 2 Gladiator because it's very interesting, it's very strong, and it will increase your overall damage for physical attack and electro damage, and mostly it will increase your skills, which is very important. The last set is my favorite because it will increase your elemental resistance for electro, and also it will increase your damage for 35%, which is insane. But you need to know that it only applies if you are hitting on enemies that are under Electro Aura. Be careful, it doesn't work on Electro Slimes because they are on Electro Native Aura, it's not an Electro Aura that you put on the enemy. For her weapon, her best in slot is Black Sword, because it can increase her damage and heal yourself. It's the best sword for her as an electro character. If you don't have Black Sword, you can use Aquila. It's still the best weapon for her if you don't have the Black Sword. If you don't have these 2 weapons, you can always use Lion's Roar, the Flute, or Filed Blade, or even Prototype Rancourt that you can craft at the blacksmith. For her artifact, I would recommend attack percent on the sand, electro damage on her goblet, and critical rate or critical damage. It will depend if you have 50% critical rate or not for her crown. If you have the Black Sword, I would recommend critical damage, because again,
this is the way.
For her teammates, I would highly recommend Xingqiu or Qingqiu and Fischl, because both are extremely powerful DPS support and they are very strong together. Also, Fischl is insanely strong with her Ascension 4, because it will do 80% extra damage when you are doing an electro elemental reaction. So if you use an electro character as a main damage dealer like Keqing, you will do extra damage every time you will do an elemental reaction with Xingqiu on the field and Oz on the field. So it's insanely strong. It's a very good combo. And for the last character, I would recommend a healer. It can be Keqing, it can be Barbara, or it can be Bennett. They are very strong. Or you can use Venti if you have Venti. I don't have Venti, so I won't recommend it in my build, but it's insanely strong to have Venti in your team because it's always elemental reaction, so it's a very good composition. You can also use a more versatile setup because if you use a cryo character and a thunder shooter set, you will be able to do extremely high damage. Even if you have Electro Build, you can still do insanely strong physical damage. It's very important to know that. I see a lot of people are having trouble with Keqing because her normal attacks don't do enough damage. She has weak auto attack, but she has a very strong charge attack, so you need to spam her charge attack. It's very strong. Please don't forget this, do not burn your stamina because in high level content you need to dodge the attacks. Well guys, that's it for today, thank you for watching. If you want a more in-depth build for Keqing, I would recommend you the Keqing main Discord. They made an amazing theory craft document, it's very interesting. I did not read everything, I use a little bit of information from this guide, but you need to know that I really like to do guides, so I do a lot of research myself too, so it's a very interesting way to enjoy the game, and I like to enjoy the game this way, so long live the theory crafters, I guess. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, it's very important for me, and also please know that I do some other builds with beautiful infographics. You may have seen them on websites, on social medias, so thank you for supporting me on these videos. See you next time.